I want to present to you this novel idea, and maybe it's not. I don't think it's on YouTube anywhere, but it's very cost effective, and we'll call it "quote unquote" a mini Rife machine. Now, it's not a Rife machine per se because Dr. Royal Rife used a complicated method of combining frequencies, plus he used a radio carrier wave to bring the frequencies that were specifically tuned to kill pathogens or whatever deep inside the body. This is a simple square wave frequency generator. It's a small one. It's a portable one. You can see it's attached right here by, you can't probably read it because I think the camera's not picking up the display accurately, but it does say the waveform, square wave frequency, then the step is going in 1 hertz, and the voltage, which I have maxed out. This goes in 1 hertz. It goes, I think it goes all the way down to like, I don't know, 10 hertz or 1 hertz, all the way up to like 1,000,000. So it pretty much covers everything. It goes in only 1 hertz steps, and it's plugged into an adapter that goes into your audio. Now, one of the problems with these quote unquote, they call them Rife machines. They're not even Rife machines. They're frequency generators, and they do have some limited usefulness in some things. They're not a cure-all or anything. They could have some effect, though, when you're combining it with medicines, good food, and nutrition. You know, it could give you an edge. I'll put it to you that way. Now, the one problem with a lot of these things is they don't have enough power. So what I have this going through, and this is an older style amp. I don't know what this thing puts out. It probably a lot. It's an older amp, but it can put out way more than I can possibly stand. And I turn off the equalizer, the reverb, and all other garbage that's down there, and echo machine, just to give you a clean square wave. Now, it's hooked into the speaker wires in the back of this amp, and I use these long lengths of wire, hopefully I'm not going too fast, that are basically coming out of the speaker wires in the back, right? They're just connected to the speaker wires, where the speaker wires go. So I have this connected into the left side where the second set of speakers would go. And what I do is, now I keep these wrapped up, coiled up in plastic bags behind a unit when it's not in use. But while it's in use, I would take these pads, these cloth pads, and you can make them. These are specially made with copper inside. And you wet these pads so they conduct electricity. And this is a back brace belt. You can wear this so you can have a pad on each side of the torso. So the electricity goes through. Now, the advantage of using a large amp like this is usually the problem with a lot of these things is they don't have enough power. And you get plenty of power out of this thing. Plenty of power. Now, also want to note that I'm going to turn this on so you can hear it through the speaker. And you hear that? You hear that? And as you change the frequency, so that's a higher frequency. 787 is a common one. 880 is another common one. You can look at the consolidated, let's see, bring it down. Now, when you get up to very high frequencies, what happens is, I'm not going to leave that on, but through the speakers, but I don't know if that's good for the speakers or not. But it's okay, it works fine with the amp. Now, I could turn this way the hell up, you know? I could turn it way up. Now, the problem is, when you're using higher frequencies through the body, it's like the lower frequencies you can feel, higher frequencies you can't feel. Now, that may or may not be a problem, but the problem is actually to get this is the theory behind it anyway. To get the frequency in the body, you have to use something strong enough when you're not using the true Rife. You're not using a radio carrier wave, or you're not using a carrier wave with the paddle type devices where you're actually making contact with the body. You're not using a carrier wave. You're just using a simple square wave. This supposedly does have some minor effect. It doesn't, it's not a miracle. It might have a little minor effect, especially if you're using the very common frequencies that they use on a list, like 465, 727, 787, 880. Those are very common ones, and even 20. But as you go higher up, you can actually stand a lot more voltage. The body, you can't even feel it. Like if I put this up on, way the hell up there where 10,000 is, and that's supposedly one of those detox rejuvenation frequencies, you're not going to feel it unless you really have some kind of power amplification for it. So the one advantage of putting this through a large amplifier used for like a stereo system, without using an equalizer, without using any kind of reverb or echo machine, a plain amplifier, no treble or bass or anything, just a plain amp, you can actually boost it up pretty high, a lot more than the units that are sold. So this is a very affordable, cheap way to use an extremely simple type of Rife equipment, and it's very easy to do too, because all I have to do is unplug this audio cable, plug in this small mini frequency generator, and the wires are right here. Just wear it and you're all set. And it only takes, like 30-minute session tops, and the wires are long enough that it can reach very far, so you don't have to be right next to this area. So it's very smart, very cost efficient, and has a hell of a lot more power than the things that are sold on the market. For a simple square wave type of machine, this is probably one of the best setups going, because the power output of an amp like this is quite a bit. So like, if this is on 10,000, you probably hear a very high pitched sound. You can hear that. You would not feel that going through the body unless you turned it up quite a bit. You would not even feel it. That does not mean that you have to feel it to have effect, but to actually get deeper penetration, you should turn it up, where you can feel something. And usually when you're getting up to like 2,000 or 3,000 on the frequency, you don't feel it, and that's because the power boosters that are sold with these things are they're not cheap. They're not cheap. I mean, this whole thing here, this little frequency device, not made for a medical device or anything, it's a frequency generator, was $133 delivered. So figure that out. Is that cost efficient? Now, is it going to cure disease? The way I look at it, it could assist. That's the way I'm looking at it, because they've had too much good feedback from these things, and it's not true Rife. I'm saying is it might be something you can use to assist something, and it's not a bad idea because of the cost effectiveness. Because say it doesn't work at all, say you get absolutely no benefit from this, you're only out $133, and you don't have a specific medical device. You actually have a frequency generator, which may be useful for other projects that you might have involved in electronics. So, and this thing, I do like it because it's battery operated. There's like a rechargeable outlet in here. You just plug it into a USB, and it lasts for quite a few hours. So it's a pretty handy device. But I'd recommend that anybody use this. Don't get fancy with the settings. Like if you look up on the consolidated frequency list, there's like a gazillion different frequencies. Try the common ones. Like 20 is a common one, 464, 465, 727, 728, right in that range. 787 and 880 are very common ones, and they're touted to actually help the body remove. Like, I don't think this is not true Rife. I would imagine if it has effect, the effect is that it harms the pathogen enough that the immune system could then give it the knockout punch. I wouldn't expect a miracle from this, but for the money, it's a handy little idea. And the only way to make these smaller devices boost a lot more power is through a strong stereo amp. I don't know what this thing puts out, a couple hundred watts and whatever the hell it is. I have no idea, but it's plenty strong enough. So I could turn this up very high in the I can actually get a lot more power out of this than some more expensive things that are sold as Rife by using this stereo amp. And it's very, very easy to use, very, very convenient, and very affordable. So if you want to experiment with it, this may be a novel way. And I don't think anybody told you about this, but I'm pretty good at looking at things from a practical standpoint. And like I said, don't expect miracles from this. People have been experimenting with these things for so long that there seems to be some kind of benefits. And, you know, I'll put it that way, there's probably some type of benefits to it. But, you know, if you combine with the food, the nature, the standard medical treatment, and this, you know, it could help you alleviate something that you might need to get knocked out. And it also has Rife square wave. They call it, it's not really Rife, it's just this plain square wave chart in a consolidated frequency list. They also have regenerative healing frequencies, you know. And, you know, you can use this for maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day. You don't have to go excessive with it. But it's a very cheap way to experiment with it. And by combining it, like I said, with a powerful amp, you have all the power in the world that you could possibly use.